Shalom, everyone. This is Shamir, and today we're going to talk about Luke, or Lucas 11:50 to 51, and how that compares to Genesis 9:5 and 6. It's always good to keep in mind that when Yeshua is speaking, he's never making up fables or local legends. Everything that he's saying is coming from the Torah, the writing, and the prophets. So the Tanakh. And we can almost always find everything inside inside of the Bible that he says. All right, so I'm gonna read the verses, and then we're gonna talk about some words that, well, how we know that this is from Genesis 9. Lema'an yidaresh min hador hazeh dam kol hanevi'im asher nishpach me'az hivased tevel midam hevel ad dam Zachariah asher neherag ben hamizbeach והבית כן אומר אני לכם דרוש יידרש מן הדור הזה. I do realize this is in Hebrew. This is part of a student lesson, actually. But you have your English Bible, so you can pull those out and make notes, however you want to do that, in the margin or whatever. All right, so Lema'an, so in order that this is also the modern Hebrew apostolic writings, or New Testament, but I prefer apostolic writings. So that's the writings of the sent ones, or shalichim or shaliach. It's more of an appropriate name. So one of our key words that we want to look at is yidaresh. So in this case, yidaresh would be hold responsible, or require. The lexical form is darash. So verb lexical form means the dictionary form. So if you open up a Hebrew lexicon, you'll find this lexical form, darash. Min hador hazeh. So min is from, hador hazeh, this generation. So from this generation. So in order that he will hold responsible from this generation, just put this gen. Dam kol hanevi'im, so the blood, dam kol, all of the prophets. The singular form is navi, hanevi'im. Whoops. So blood of all the prophets. Asher nishpach. So this is our second word that we want to pay attention to. So from shafach, shin pei, final kaf. So being shed, that has been shed. Dam is another one. Blood is another word we can look at too. Me'az, since. Hiva said, tevel, or I have another version, and I've said this before, that all the resources that you have, you want to use. You can't poo-poo away, or you don't like the Greek, or you don't like this or that. So you can't really do that with biblical studies because you need all the resources that you can get. You don't live in that time period. So I use the modern Hebrew, the Greek text, and also have an older version of the New Testament that's kind of written after the Tanakh or classical Hebrew. The modern Hebrew text and this older text are not reliable in of themselves to use alone. So you have to have the source, which is the Greek text. And then these are all translations from the Greek. The modern Hebrew text is a modern Hebrew based on the Greek. So Hivaled, Tevel. Tevel is another word for world or olam in modern Hebrew. So from the founding or establishment of the world. So midam hevel, so from the blood. The mi is min, which is from, and we have that same min here. Hevel, which is, you have the able, that's from the Greek or Septuagint. Hevel is has a different connotation, but we're not going to get into that. Ad dam Zachariah or Zechariah in English. Zachariah, God remembers, or Yah remembers. Zachar is to remember, and then you have the Yah, which is a short form of Yahweh or Yud He Vav He. Sher Neherag from Harag, the lexical form of this verb. So that was killed or had been killed. Bain Hamizbeach. Hamizbeach or Mizbeach is an altar, so and Bain is between, so between the altar. And Habayit, Habayit. So Habayit is another word for Mishkan or Heichal. I don't like the word tabernacle. It's annoying. Mishkan, it's a dwelling place. Right? And the reason it's called that is because the verbal form shin kaf nun means to live or dwell. And we see that same root in the word Mishkan. Probably here it would be the temple, Heichal, it's a temple. Ken omer ani lechem, so thus ani I omer saying, lechem to you, plural. Darosh yidaresh, so this is what we call emphatic. So surely be required. You will surely require this, truly require this. Means without a doubt, this is going to happen. Min hador hazeh. And we end up with an inclusio too. Inclusio just means that you begin a phrase with, you begin with one phrase and you end with the same phrase. So we see this yidaresh min hador hazeh. And then we see we end darosh yidaresh min hador hazeh. Okay, so then we want to go to Genesis 9. I meant to have this up already, but well, there we go. Genesis 9, 5. And so I have a few notes to read about this too. So first, verse 5, we have a lot of the same words. Ve'ach et dimcha. So dimcha is dam plus second masculine singular suffix. So your blood. Lenafshotechem. So we have dam. We're just gonna look at the words that we saw in our apostolic reading. So here we have edrosh. So that's I will require from darash. And then edreshenu, I will require it. Again, same dalet reshin, and meaning the blood or life. And then we have edrosh again. I will require et nefesh hadam, the life of the man. And then we have our shofech, spilling blood, because we saw that in our reading, shafach, dam ha'adam. And then we see damo, his blood, yishafech, being spilled, so shafach again. And then ki b'tselem Elohim, asa et hadam, et ha'adam. So we have this before in the image or selim, Elohim or God, asa, Elohim made, Elohim asa, Elohim made, et ha'adam. Et is just a direct object marker, the man or human, really. Sometimes Adam can be referring to Adam as a personal name, like when we read in the story of the garden, and then other times it's referring to all of humanity. So this is where people get confused and have all kinds of problems. So let's see, I have a little note. If we look at verse 5, perhaps we are surprised to read in this verse that even animals are accountable for their crimes. In verse 5, it does say, edrosh miyad kol chaya, so I'll require it from all animals. So just if you go to some of the Levitical laws, if say a bull gores a man, then that bull is killed, so its life is required for the life that it took. Punishment for spilling the life blood of another is exacted by God, although he does use humans also to carry out. It just depends on the circumstance. Murder is placed in the orbit of sacral law. To kill another human being is to destroy one who is a bearer of the divine image. Thus, man's divine creation should be a deterrent to criminal behavior. And a little note, man is referred to twice in verse 6. So if you're reading this in English, man is referred to twice. The first man is the murdered victim. The second man is the executioner of the criminal. Verse 6b, because verses are usually broken up into verse 6a, 6b, 6c, depending on how long it is. Has a third reference to man, presumably to the victim, but it could equally refer to the executioner. And then sort of a question, does image of God function, Tselem Elohim, function as a deterrent to murder, or does it legitimate the authority of the executioner to deal out justice? But the penalty for shedding blood may be exacted either by God, as we see in verse 5, and by man in verse 6. And that's all. That's enough, right? I'm sure. So hopefully you get something out of this, make some notes, and hopefully I'll be back again next week with all of you. Until then, Shavua Tov. Bye-bye.